Again, I'm Thurman Brendlinger with the Clean Air Council. The first slide here, this is a view from the Marriott here, actually taken in March. And you'll see some haziness in the background there. And also the parking lot, which last night really rocked after the Pens game. So go Pens, and we look forward to a Stanley Cup final. So anyway, let me see. A little bit about the council. We've been in existence over 49 years, preserving everyone's right to breathe clean air as a regional protector of our air. We're based out of Philadelphia. We have an office in Harrisburg and also in Delaware. And we do work throughout Pennsylvania, Delaware, and into New Jersey. Dr. Gentile went over sort of our agenda here for today, what we can do to help gain clean air, to reduce and prevent asthma. I'll discuss a couple of sources of pollution and some actions that were around those sources. And then we'll talk about what we all can do in the future here. We've worked together quite well with organizations like the ALA. We team up on a panel here today. And then also locally here, GASP, Group Against Smog and Pollution, and other organizations here throughout Pennsylvania. Speaking of GASP, I thought it would be appropriate to give a plug for an event they have next week coming up. They have been making the connection between air pollution and health, and this in their series is on Wednesday, May 11th, talking about air pollution and brain health with two distinguished speakers. So I encourage everyone to go out for that next week. I grew up in the Pittsburgh area, so we always had there were sayings for everything in our household. So, and one I thought that might be appropriate for today was, if I knew then what I know now. What we have found out a lot of information here today from the great speakers. What we need to do now is to use that and move forward to help clean our air for the future of Allegheny County. So I'll talk about two sources of pollution, major pollution areas here in the county, diesel pollution, and then also coke oven emissions. Diesel pollution, I love this graphic. It shows how little teeny weeny those PM 2.5 particles are and how they are able to get into lungs and penetrate into the lungs, which is particularly dangerous for the youth and also elderly populations. So I think this is, and it shows it in perspective to a fine beach grain of sand and also human hair. As I mentioned before, we've worked with GASP in the past, and specifically on vehicle idling. Here in Pennsylvania, Act 124 was passed, termed the Diesel-Powered Motor Vehicle Idling Act, and basically vehicles 5 tons or more are not allowed to idle more than 5 minutes. And the owner of the building is responsible, as well as the drivers on that. And the owner of the building is responsible for putting up signs informing the drivers of their responsibilities. And here's one of the signs. Hopefully you folks have seen these signs in and around public buildings that have diesel-fueled trucks and buses. But here in Allegheny County, we became aware that this might be a problem for the Pittsburgh public schools. So a group of volunteers from different organizations actually did some observations at the public schools and observed 123 out of a total of 276 school buses that serve the district on a spring day in April. And what was observed was 25% of those buses idled more than the statutory limit of 5 minutes. And at that time, in 2014, there was no signage at the Pittsburgh Public Schools. So next steps, GASP and other organizations visited the school officials to discuss the findings and work together with the schools to improve that compliance. They were able to gather up signage for the schools and have them be placed at all the bus load and unload locations. And they're still working with the schools. They collected cards from citizens asking the Pittsburgh Public School Board to ensure that the most recent clean technology for diesel buses was being used. So it's a work in progress, and talk to the folks at GASP if you want to help out with that project. I'll also talk about coke oven pollution. Here in Allegheny County, there's 3 major coke facilities that impact the region air quality. ArcelorMittal, I always mispronounce that one, Monessen Coke Plant just south of Allegheny County. The Clairton Coke Works, which was mentioned is the largest coke facility in the country, and the Shenango Coke Works, which was on Neville Island. But as a case study, we'll talk about that Shenango Coke Works and a local group here, and I think there's a few folks in the audience that are here from that group. They're a great group of citizens. They were able to create awareness about what they've endured for years from that plant. It's smelled at all hours, plus it's, they experienced health effects from that plant. And so they did a great job making people aware of that. They did it in a number of ways. They first tried to work with the company, but that did not work so well. So they moved on and engaged the Allegheny County Health Department, as well as the County Council, Board of Health, the Allegheny County Pollution Control Air Advisory Committee. They would attend meetings trying to get their message across about what they have experienced living in and around that plant. They also met with Region 3 EPA officials and invited them to visit the plant area. And all this helped create an awareness in the community through the press about the situation at the Shenango plant. Here's a photograph I took, I guess a couple of years ago, of the plant. And it's a beautiful thing. But unfortunately, due to market conditions, that plant closed in January 2016. So now that community is not quitting. They're saying, okay, now let's do something productive at that site. And so, and I think as we speak, they are at the DTE shareholder meeting. DTE is the owner of that plant, and they are proposing this, DTE Solar. Actually, DTE has put in some solar facilities in a number of areas, and so it's something very doable for that company, and so that community group is encouraging that type of use for that plant. Because which would you prefer to live next to? I think the right-hand side says it for me. The Clairton Coke Works is another facility. A sunny day here at the Clairton Coke Works. So we did some research about the Clairton Coke Works, and this problem with this facility is not not new. And we dug into the press. Actually, Pittsburgh Press had an article in 1989. And in this article, it had two opposing views on the pollution that plant was creating. And I'll actually quote the article. For years, the Clairton Coke Works of USX has been the focal point of a battle over local air quality. So for years, and that was in 1989. The company contends it is doing a responsible and efficient job abating pollution and has achieved dramatic results in reducing emissions. Some environmentalists, especially the group against smog and pollution, dispute those claims, saying that the company has a moral responsibility extending beyond its legal responsibility that it is not living up to. Let's roll forward to April 1st, 2016. From a Pittsburgh Post-Gazette article, the 15-count civil complaint, also filed March 24th against U.S. Steel by the Health Department, details some of the 6,700 air pollution violations that have occurred over the past 3.5 years, many related to the opacity or visible smoke and gas emissions. It also details a history of consent agreements and amended consent orders in 2007, 2 in 2008, 2010, 2011, 2014. I think we have a persistent polluter on our hands, and we need to do something about it. We knew it then, we know it now, and let's do something about it. So what can we do? First, I would connect with different groups working on clean air here in the region. ALA, GASP, here's the list of other community groups working on air quality issues in the region. 2, you can write a letter to the editor. Tell them enough is enough, and we want clean air here in Allegheny County. Attend a public meeting, like the folks at ACAN did. Convey healthy air information in the office. And also, get to know your local, state, and federal decision makers. I know in the room here today, a group of citizens working on wood smoke pollution have engaged the health department, and the health department has been working with them on this issue. So it can happen. We just need to talk and connect with folks. Same thing for state officials. Get to know your state representative and senator, because then they eventually move on to the federal level. And so it's good to know them as well, and tell them about the issues that concern you around air pollution and its impact on asthma. And then especially in this election year, it is key for everyone to vote, and please vote for candidates that are working for clean air. So I want to thank everybody, and I look forward to talking in the next discussion group.